So, who's going to get the ball going? It looks as if it well could be Stephen Marcus of Nauru. There's Petroff. Interesting that he's representing Croatia.
Yes, and we've heard all sorts of things about this man in the training room. He's been doing some huge lifts, but of course lots of these huge lifts are done grossly overweight. Some of these athletes are reducing sort of 4 or 5, sometimes 6 kilograms, and of course this reflects in their lifts on the platform.
Well, in fact, it's the man from Kazakhstan who's going to start proceedings. This is Oleg Shin. International debut today, weighing in at 61.58 kilos.
And that's a good start for him. And of course, just to show you the standard of lifting, that's a first attempt on 120 kilos, which is almost a double body weight snatch. And of course, these men are going to be going a lot higher than that.
So the first good lift underway.
Yes, nice solid textbook lift there.
So here comes the man from Nauru, Marcus, the Commonwealth Games champion. Now, if you've not heard of Nauru, it's a very small island on the equator in the Central Pacific. It's pretty small, but if you get your atlas out, you'll probably find it. It's only 22 kilometers round. And if you go north from Brisbane by aeroplane for about 4.5, 5 hours, or south from Honolulu for about the same length of time, you'll find it. Paul Coffer, the coach you just saw there. The other important fact about Nauru is, to the amazement of many, that 48 hours ago it was awarded the right to host the 2001 World Weightlifting Championships. Goodness knows how they're going to manage that, but obviously they've convinced enough people they can do the job.
Fairly rough start there from Marcus, but of course Commonwealth Games were 5 weeks ago. I wouldn't have thought he'd have done that much training in that 5-week period.
Interesting, he weighed in the Commonwealth Games at 61.91, and compared to 61.83, I should say, he's weighed in tonight at 61.91, and the man you're watching now, Yuri Sarkisian, who took the silver medal for Australia, is tonight 61.83. Marcus was lighter in Kuala Lumpur. Tonight, Sarkisian is actually the lighter man.
Oh, nice first attempt. Yes, I think Sarkisian will, although neither of them have got any chance of winning medals here, I think there'll be a personal battle going on between Sarkisian and the man from Nauru.
Yes, a little bit of revenge to be taken, I think.
Of course, Sarkisian, 38 years of age, been around for a long, long time.
Well, he's had 20 years of experience in the weightlifting World Championships, represented the Soviet Union back in 1980 in the Olympic Games when he took a silver medal, and at the last Olympics when he represented Australia was 7th. But in that time, he's done a tremendous lot of lifting. Now, Oleg Shin out for his second lift at 125 kilos.
Yep, carbon copy of the first. Nice technique.
So the bar stays at 125 kilos for Stephen Marcus. Stephen, oh, we'll see him in a moment. No problem with that lift though from the man from Kazakhstan.
Now this is actually Stephen Marcus's best. This is the weight that he lifted in the Commonwealth Games. 125.
29 years of age he is. Earns his living as the finance manager for the National Olympic Committee. Mind you, there's only 7,000 people on the island. They say it's one of the richest places in the world per capita. The potassium that they dig up there, which is, I should say, phosphates. Phosphates that they dig up there, which they export to New Zealand and to Australia for enriching the agriculture in those parts of the world, makes most of income for Nauru. They also, as one does in the world these days, have a satellite television station that has a footprint that covers a third of the globe.
Yes, I mean, his first lift wasn't really convincing. And this was a 5-kilo jump up from that. And I just think that he's still a bit jaded from the Commonwealth Games. Very, very hard to keep in that top condition all the time. And I would imagine after the Games he would have perhaps taken a couple of weeks off. And, you know, he's just coming back into this. And this isn't really a serious competition for him because obviously he knows he's not going to be in the medals.
Having said that, it is the World Championships, and you've got Sarkassian, who seems very relaxed, was very chatty in the training hall. We'll have to wait and see whether he's as well. We'll be back in a moment.
Wie seine Natur.
Succeeding at 125 kilos. And that was his third attempt. And now Sarkassian in this little revenge battle, a little needle, coming out now to try for 127.5.
Yes, now this was the weight that Sarkassian failed in the Commonwealth Games. He was only successful with 125. He needed this to take the gold medal from Marcus Stevens, so he's probably trying to prove a point here, I would think.
But he's got one more opportunity to try and do just that.
Well, that's exactly what he did at the Games. He failed in exactly the same way. But as you say, he's got another opportunity. He almost had it there. Tight back, hips through, just slightly out of position. Perhaps he should have stayed in that squat until he was balanced and felt right. So he's now got 2 minutes to rest and prepare himself for his third attempt at 127.5. You can just see the clock ticking down there. As I said, 38 years of age, formerly lifted for Russia, now living in and competing for Australia.
Yes, the Australians, I have to say it's slightly controversial, this. We've gone through this a few times, but there is the question of essentially buying lifters to achieve medals in the Olympic Games.
And the Commonwealth Games.
Not sure what the morality is. There's one or two lifters tonight who've flipped around various countries in the world. We'll come to them as the competition progresses. The most recent one in tonight's competition would be Petroff, who's moved from Bulgaria to Croatia, and more of that when we see him make his first attempt. But now Sarkassian to take this third effort at 127.5 kilos.
Yes, Neil, he'll really want to do this just to get one over on Marcus.
Well, in their private battle, it would be a double advantage because he has weighed in lighter as well, so that would give him even a bigger.
Oh, yes. Well, that's proved a point. And you can see he's happy with that.
That punch in the air is very much towards the lifter from Nauru. You can be sure.
And this will actually make it a really good competition between those two, because Marcus is much stronger on the clean and jerk, but now Sarkassian has done that fantastic snatch of 127.5, and as you said, has got the body weight as well. It's going to make things a lot more interesting.
So out comes the man from Kazakhstan who's been patiently waiting whilst the two men from down under duel privately, but he's coming out for 130 kilos. And he's gone in 5 kilo increments. Hasn't made any mistakes so far. It's looked pretty solid.
Well, that's 3 successes for the man from Kazakhstan. 120, 125, and then 130. All executed in perfect technique. So he'll now have that 130 to take over into the clean and jerk. Nice solid lift. That's about 6 or 7 kilos over double body weight. Just to give you an idea of the kind of weights these men are lifting. But this is Farkas coming in on 132.5 kilograms.
Yes, Sultan, who'll be celebrating his 24th birthday next week. Originally entered Romania, but now these days represents Hungary. 6th in the current world ranking, having finished 4th in the Europeans in Germany in the springtime. So not a good start for him.
Yes, and Farkas really taking a long time to get his grip there. I don't know if you noticed, but quite small hands, really working hard to get the fingers wrapped over the thumb. But that's a no lift on his first attempt, so he'll have to repeat that.
And now Sevdalim Minchev for Bulgaria. Bulgaria have got 2 in the lineup. The main, or the most notable absentee is Stefaniev. Now, Georgiev really in terrific form last season, but what happened was, we'll just see this lift through and then I'll explain why he's not representing Bulgaria tonight. So that's a good start there for Minchev. Georgiev, the European champion, he's been training virtually on his own, and Georgiev has been, when it came to selection, what he decided was that he wanted to find out who out of his lifters were the best 2 to come into tonight's competition. So what he did was he said, we'll have a test, and he took Sevdalim Minchev and Valentin Sarov and Georgiev, put them in a test, and Georgiev came out 3rd. That's the reason, quite simply, why he's not lifting for Bulgaria tonight. Now, Farkas, 2nd attempt for Hungary, still 132.5 kilos on the bar. Just a reminder, we're creeping closer, but still a long way to get towards that world standard of 145 kilos. Anybody who reaches that tonight will claim the world record, will put their name on it. Better.
That's what he wanted.
Georgiev, of course, the man I was mentioning a few moments ago, the European champion who denied Leonidas Sabonis the European title this season. Sabonis yet to start lifting tonight. That's better, much more solid. Well, it should be Su Feijing of China who's going to come out and open his account. So I think maybe there's not a change. Here he comes. 135 kilos on the bar. for the junior world champion of 1997.
Yes, and of course the Greeks, we've got Leonidas, the other 62-kilo lifter, who had that great battle with Naim Suleimanoglu in the Olympic Games.
Well, it's Sabonis. In fact, it won't be Sabonis who comes next. It's going to be Sarov, I think, who's also opting to come in at 135 kilos.
Well, this lift really strong, but then just a lack of concentration, perhaps a lack of experience.
Just to, we might have actually caused a bit of confusion here with this battle about talking about Naim Suleimanoglu, so let's clear it up. It was Valerios Leonidas who actually was the runner-up in the Olympics to Suleimanoglu, the great man who's been around here in this past week, starting all sorts of rumours that he might be coming back for Sydney 2000. I'll believe that when I see it. Meanwhile, here's Valentin Sarov, the other Bulgarian who's qualified. This was the other man, Georgiev, out of the Bulgarian team for these championships. So Sarov, a first failure for him. One of the younger men, 22 years of age.
This really doesn't get enough height on the bar. It's way out in front there.
So Buziev on the right, the mastermind, the main planner, some would say dictator of the Bulgarian team. Pretty strict disciplinarian.
Very strict disciplinarian. He keeps them in the gym all day.
Su Feishang of China. Interestingly, both the Chinese junior world champions. This man last year, Mao Shang, this year's version. So there'll be some competition between the two Chinese as well for top spot, and that's better.
That's a good lift. And of course he's wasted an attempt because of that first failure.
Really gets the bar, absolutely. It was pretty. It's been good to see it. We'll see it here from the side.
Yeah, solid young lifter.
Here's Sarov again. Comes from a little town called Smolensk, near the Greek border. It's a ski resort, actually. He's going to feel pretty at home here in Lahti with all the snow around. Still 20 seconds. Big, wide spread of the arms. Needed that.
Well, he's got one on the board. But again, he also wasted an attempt by not doing that the first time.
He's got a couple of junior European bronze medals, but again he's a man who's now really trying to make his mark in the senior rank. Looked very, once he got there and established it, it looked very strong.
Yes, he takes this very wide grip that the Bulgarians take, which is an advantage, you know, in terms of the pull, because you don't have to pull it so high, but obviously with a wider grip with the weight overhead, it's much more difficult to hold.
This could be the man of the evening. We'll see in just about an hour and a half from now. 20 years of age, Mao Shang, junior world champion of 1998. setting out for the senior title, to join an elite who've achieved that in the same season. Oh, absolutely no problem with that. 137.5 kilos. And this is the man who is first in the world ranking coming into this championship, having lifted 140 kilos in Sofia in the Junior World Championships last May. Now that is only 5 kilos short of the world standard.
Very, very heavily muscle lifter, considering he only weighs 62 kilos. That's under 10 stone.
Well, here's a man who can be anything. Hafiz Suleimanoglu. The only thing you can say about him is that he is totally unpredictable. You just do not know what this man will do. He's been a world champion. If you go back to 1989, he was world champion for the Soviet Union. Of course, these days he represents Turkey. Originally, he came from Azerbaijan.
Complete contrast in physique.
It's a good start for Hafiz. The Turks, who were very much in the doldrums last season, beginning to find their way back, and the recapturing of the 56 kilo title by Halil Mutlu last night has really boosted the spirits of the camp. Nothing wrong with this, David.
No.
Good start.
Very good start. Of course, 137.5 kilos, that's 303 pounds.
So Bulgaria it'll be next up. Just to mention, our fax numbers fax lines are open, so if you want to send us a fax, the number to send us a fax on, 358 for Finland, 3782-607. 358-3782-6017, and David and myself would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Sevdalim Minshev, who's already got one solid lift under his belt, that's 132.5, now taking a 5 kilo increase up to 137.5. And gets a whiff of the famous Buziev smelling salts there.
There's a bit of confusion there, who was coming out. Lifters in the warm-up room already starting to make changes, already starting to increase on their original weight that they put in at the weigh-in.
This is a very tight category altogether here. There's quite a few who can win this. Sometimes you get a competition category where it's quite clear that will dominate, but that's not the case with this tonight. And Minshev gets 137.5.
Yes, he hasn't been happy with either of his snatches. Technically, they've been slightly wrong, but he's got the guts to hold on to them and correct the mistakes once he's made it. A lot of lifters would just let the weight go. See, this doesn't catch it in a perfect position, lifts his backside up too soon, but hangs onto it, takes a couple of steps forward.
He is the lightest man in tonight's field at 61 kilos 32. So again, that's a good lift to have got on. It might well help him in terms of the ranking, but we shall see. As now Zoltan Farkas goes for the same weight. So again, even if he gets there, he's going to stay ahead of him. But tonight, it's all about concentrating on winning the medals and staying as close as you can to the action. You don't want to go into the second half, the clean and jerk, with a deficit, or you want to go in, if you have to be behind, with the smallest possible deficit. Very good in that low position, really controls it, doesn't he, and then drives up.
I think he's happy with that one. He's made a mistake with his first, no mistake with the second, and then a supreme effort on his third attempt. And I think that's a personal best.
Well, the real question is there that he's lifted 137.5 kilos. He took the bronze medal at the European Championships earlier this year with just 130 snatch. So clearly the work has gone a lot better in the past 6 months. Here's the Greek, Nikolas Sabanis, 26 years of age, originally from Albania, but a solid member of the Greek team. Second in the Olympic Games to Tang of China at 59 kilos in Atlanta. Runner-up this year in the European Championships. Well, that was,
look at that,
perhaps a sign of things to come. He lifted 135 when he took the snatch gold in the Europeans. That's 140 for openers.
Yes, I suppose the extra 3 kilos is giving him some strength. Really strong opening. He does look superb.
World champion in 1995. So now Nikolai Petroff, formerly of Bulgaria, but these days of Croatia. Why, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you why. They gave him a house, they offered him a car and a chance to compete for Croatia. He also competes in the German Bundesliga, so it's all about making a living, and there's nothing wrong in that. But the important thing is he's not yet qualified to represent Croatia in the Olympic Games. More of that after this. 140 kilos.
Well, this man does look good.
Well, you said to me before that he looks solid in the training hall. The point about the Olympic Games is that the rules that you must be a national of the country you're going to represent 3 years before, which means that he is going to have to achieve some form of special dispensation to be allowed to compete for Croatia. So he's fine here in the World Championships, but the Olympics is something different.
But let's say that he wins this World Championships. It'd be quite sad that the world champion is unable to compete in the Olympic Games, which again highlights how stupid this system is anyway.
Well, it's
well, I know it's the country system, but the points system.
But here now, Su Zhang for his third and final attempt at 140 kilos. Well, Sabanis is heavier, so technically that takes Su Zhang into the lead, but of course he's finished his lifting. Sabanis, on the other hand, has got 2 more lifts to come. So China can't depend too much on Su Zhang holding on to this lead, but of course they have got Mao Shang still to come, who's very much going to play a part in this, I feel, tonight. And this is Sadov now coming out for his third attempt at 140. Now he's actually lighter by 0.10, 100 grams, than Su Zhang. So he will lead momentarily if he gets this. It's that close tonight, it really is.
Five seconds on the clock.
Well, that was well executed.
bet he's thinking to himself, I wish I hadn't failed that first attempt.
Well, he's recovered well. Failed 135, got it second time, went to 140.
That was a very convincing 140, and one is left thinking perhaps if he had another attempt, he could have gone even further. It's a really solid lift.
We are 5 kilos short of the world standard. So here's Minchev, just under half a minute to go. This is his third lift at 140 kilos. And again, remember, he's the lightest of the lot, so he will take over the lead if he gets it, which he does. So one Bulgarian follows another.
And technically, that was the best lifts. He got better as the weight got heavier.
So just at this moment in the snatch, Bulgaria are 1 and 2. Minchev ahead of Sarov. We don't think it's going to stay that way anyway, not for too long. But this is a really fascinating contest. We've got the private revenge match between Marcus Stefan and Jurek Sarkisian at the bottom of the table. And the rest are right in there. And here's Mao Shang. He does look, he struts onto the stage, doesn't he?
Very, very heavily muscled lifter. I mean, it was good to see the Turk coming out after him, just to see the comparison of the two physiques, yet still lifting very much the same weight.
142.5 kilos for the lead. Second lift, 5 kilo increase on his first successful. He can have one more go. I'm sure the weight's not a problem.
No, just leaning back at the top of the pull and swinging that weight round instead of just pulling it straight up, sitting down underneath it and catching it on straight arms.
But I think that rules out any attempt from him to go for world records or equaling the world standard.
Yes, I'm sure he'll be taking 142.5 on his third attempt.
Now here comes Hafiz Suleimanoglu. As I said right at the beginning when we saw him for the first time, he is unpredictable. What is encouraging is that he's got the first lift in. Too often, he hasn't done that. If you go back through the record books, you'll find too many entries where you'll see XXX, which means he failed to complete a snatch or a jerk, or in some cases both. But this is an art. It's represented Turkey now for a long time, in fact since 1989.
I'm not completely sure what that was all about. I mean, he was looking at his thumbs, wasn't he?
That is typical Hafiz Suleimanoglu. This man who was second in the World Championships last year. And straight onto the stage comes Mao Shang. Now this is pretty important now. This is going to keep him in the contest.
Yes, I mean he's got a good clean and jerk, so this lift would really put the pressure on the other competitors.
Now he's really under pressure. He came into this competition tonight looking to get gold in all 3 divisions. That has gone quite clearly now. And he's got an enormous task because he's left down on 137.5 kilos and Sabonis has got 140 and he's lurking and waiting. Sabonis has posted 1:45, which is the standard. But before that,
yes,
here
of course, Peshalov as well has also done a very convincing first attempt on 140.
Well, this is Suleymanoglu at 1:42.5 for the second time. As I said, at the 64 kilo category a year ago, down into this new 62 kilo category. He was the runner-up to Zhao Jinggang of China. Snatched 145 kilos actually last year in Chiang Mai. So he now drops back and reverts to that first success at 137.5, and I have to say they're all playing into the hands of Sabonis and indeed Peshalov, who I think will be next out. No, he won't.
Sabonis, so this will be a new world record.
Well, it's difficult to know how to describe it. The standard is set at 145, but it has no name attached to it. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is to claim the standard and establish the world record. And then will be Peshalov, who's also posted 145, whether he tries to just equal it or to better it.
Well, of course, they've both still got 2 lifts left, so...
And Sabonis is the slightly lighter man, 61.76 kilos, Peshalov 61.80. So again, the weigh-in could be critical. Oh, fantastic lift. And that's Peshalov. The Greeks, of course, who will welcome the world of weightlifting in a year's time to Athens. They're the host of the next World Championships, which will be the Olympic qualifying competition. They disappeared without trace. They withdrew the whole of their men's team from competition from last year's World Championships for a variety of reasons, and you can believe what you like about that. But what they did was to wind down, and now they're building up again. So he knows what he has to do. There's still 145 kilos on the bar. And remember, he has a third lift. So by my money, the world record holder is now Sabonis. This to equal the world record.
But of course, Peshalov heavier. So this is still only the silver medal.
And in any case, the man who lifts it first claims the title.
Oh.
Well, I'll tell you what,
that was
David,
convincing.
2 lifts to go, and this is the real poker game. And then Sabonis just looks on there. Both of these men look confident. Clearly, the preparation has gone well.
Yeah, I think this bodyweight class obviously suits them a lot better than the 59 kilo class. They both look a lot stronger and a lot more overhead.
I think it's much more close to their natural weight.
Yes. Well, I had reports of this man doing...
So now Sabonis comes onto the stage, 147.5. Well, world record attempt. This is, by my book, to actually improve what he's already achieved. 147.5, and of course, if Sabonis and then Peshalov actually achieve this, they are moving away from the rest of the field. This will put him, Leonidas Sabonis, 10 kilos clear of Mao Shang, and that's a big margin. Peshalov.
New world record.
New world record. Fantastic lift there by Sabonis. Real strength, but really clear in his head what he had to do there.
So that now means that if Peshalov wants to break the world record and take the gold medal, he needs to snatch 150. And as I was about to say earlier, I've had reports that he's done 155 in training, so 150 shouldn't be beyond him.
The question is whether he's worried about that or whether he just... Oh, he has put it. Yes, it's going to go to 150. I can tell you now, as we see, look at the strength here at the bottom.
Really working, really gave it everything in that bottom position.
That was millimeters.
Look at the coaches.
Millimeters from touching the floor with his bottom, which would have ruled him out. Look how low he gets.
Really gives it everything, hangs on to it. But the bar now, David, is at 150 kilos. That's 5 kilos over the world standard. And as I said, this man's apparently done 155 in training. So this is not beyond him.
Well, whatever happens, the rest of the field now have got an enormous wall to climb in the clean and jerk. But what a fantastic duel here between these two. Now, can Petroff do this? This would be absolutely amazing. 150 kilos on the bar. Remember, his body weight is at 61.8 kilos.
Oh, these are phenomenal weights.
No, and so the gold medal goes in the snatch to Leonidas Sabonis, who keeps the world record. Petroff has to rely on his 145 kilos, but that's a solid silver medal position, and those two are clear of the rest of the field. Mao Shang, one of the pre-competition favourites, but just having a look at Sabonis, is he in trouble?
Looks as if he may have damaged his elbow on that snatch, because he did sit down there for a while and he was twisting around, and so it'll be interesting to see if that has any effect in the clean and jerk.
You can see Petroff's failure there, doesn't get the bar anywhere near above his head. And it's one thing to do it in the training hall, it's another thing to do it on stage in the lights when it has to count. So the result of the snatch at the halfway point in this men's 62 kilo competition sees the first gold medal of these championships for Greece going to Leonidas Sabonis with 147.5 kilos, having first established the world standard and then increasing it to a world record, there it is, of 147.5 kilos. Petroff of Croatia, the silver, then Sevdalim Minchev, the lighter of the two Bulgarians, getting the bronze medal, and you can see how the Chinamen have suffered there by failing to achieve their lifts. And it's Petroff in fourth and Fei Zhang ahead of Mao Shang.